Have you ever had that feeling when there's a child in your care who's been on a screen for a little bit too long and you start to wonder what sort of harm we're doing to them with these constant screens and devices? No? Me neither. In fact, we believe so strongly in the benefits of screens for children at any and every time that we recently adopted a tablet into our family as our new son, a new favourite child. Here's Sammy. Say hello, Sammy. We just feel like it's completely changed the narrative in our family around the whole issue of devices.
Dad, can I play with Sammy for a bit?
Yeah, of course you can, mate. Oh, you're such a good older brother.
And you're a great parent and a wonderful role model. Thanks,
bud. Let me know when you're done and we'll play Boss Fighters QR with everyone, the whole family, including Sammy. So what is Boss Fighters QR? Is it a board game or is it an app? Well, it's both. It's a hybrid. It's trying to straddle the world of tabletop and the screen, bringing the best of both to a co-op gaming experience. But what sort of hybrid is it? Is it a glorious griffin heralding a new age of gaming? Or is it a moping mule? Well, we'll take a closer look now. Because it's a campaign game, we're going to avoid any major spoilers for the unlockable content. So the first thing you'll do after downloading the app is to make a party of between 2 and 4 players, choosing your character combinations. Half your starting deck comes from your chosen hero, and the other half comes from your chosen class. Here's our merry band. The jungle troll warrior gets the horn of the chieftain and the sword of the ruby guard, whilst the hill halfling rogue gets a whisper cloak and a shadow blade. Each round of the game has 7 phases, which the app will slowly walk you through, but the basic shape of the game is this. First, the boss will prepare its attacks. Second, you do stuff. You play 3 actions each using cards in your hand. And third, the boss attacks then resolve unless you've managed to cancel them out. But these standard attacks are just the start of your problem, because each boss has a range of other attacks that can activate at different times in the battle. After boss attacks are done, you'll resolve any status effects, discarding any unwanted cards and drawing back up to your full hand limit. You'll normally have 3 actions each per round, with each player taking 1 action at a time. The cards generally let you either do damage to the boss or to protect one of your teammates from their standard attack. Protection cards will predictably protect someone at the table by reducing the upcoming attack by a certain value. You'll be attacking with specific attack types, melee, range or magic, and you'll only be able to damage the boss's life once you've depleted the relevant shield, with the boss putting up new shields at the beginning of every round. There are 2 types of attack cards, slightly confusingly named attacks and supports. These are functionally the same, but you can only play a support card after someone has played an attack of that type. Come on, Nimrith, stop faffing around with your diadem and fire your bow so I can throw these stones. Every time you defeat a boss in this game, you'll get to unlock new content from these spangly treasure chests, which will then go back in the box and quietly call out to you in the night whilst you're trying to sleep. Release me. As well as delving into these treasure chests, defeating a boss will unlock the next one on the app, often with new mechanics or new status effects to be reckoned with. When you've completed all 10 bosses, plus the initial training fight, that's Boss Fighters finished for this campaign. Now the first thing to say here is that this game was a huge hit with my kids, to the extent it became quite problematic. After playing for the first time, it had such a profound effect on them that it caused them to redefine time, not measured in minutes or hours, but measured in how many games of Boss Fighters they could complete in a given period. 45 minutes until we need to leave. Boss Fighters, now! 30 minutes until bedtime. Kill the frog! And this obsession they developed came about because this game masterfully exploits the joy of discovery. Let me tell you what I mean. When you first play a new boss, you know it's going to follow the same basic pattern of preparing and resolving standard attacks, but you have no idea what its responsive or scheduled or other attacks may be. So as you play a new boss for the first time, you'll be trying to deduce and discover exactly what makes them tick, so you can dodge their attacks where possible. And you've also got the fact that after the battle, if you win, you know there's something new waiting for you in the box. Something to discover. Maybe a new mechanic. Probably a new card with something cool and new. The whole campaign is just full of discovery after discovery. It just doesn't stop. There's something in each of us, particularly in children, I think, that revels in this discovery. And this game is constantly unveiling new things for you to discover. But whilst this game expertly releases the joy of discovery for its players, it does come at a cost. And the cost is paid by those of us around the table whose greatest joy playing games is in making interesting decisions. You'll soon realise when you're playing that it makes sense to prioritise one particular attack type each round. That way you can zero that shield and start doing damage to the boss's life. So on your turn, you'll first just play any cards that give you extra actions because it's always good stuff and it's free turns. Then you'll play the agreed attack type if you've got a card that's relevant. And then if not, or if someone's low on health, you might play a protection card. It makes a lot of sense to play that way, but it does mean that your turns become quite algorithmic and you lose any real decision-making crunch. And then at some point in the battle, you'll realise collectively that the boss's health is low enough you can probably defeat them this round, at which point you'll abandon all defensive actions in exchange for every worm-toothed blade and fireball you can get your hands on. Nimrith, put your diadem down, start shooting. Some of the cards and bosses add a bit of variability, but the pattern remains much the same. There's no real opportunity here to buff yourself up or your teammates. There's no broken combinations between players that can deal crazy damage. There's no trade-off between the now and the later. Now the way the game tries to keep things interesting is by adding these restrictive or harmful status effects that will hamper your ability to do what you want on your turn. I won't go into the details because we're trying to keep this review spoiler-free, but in a game where your choice on your turn is already quite obvious, they have the effect of making your turn even less satisfying to play than usual. This is all I can do, so I guess I'll do it. Actually, this relatively basic decision making in this game is really great for kids who aren't bamboozled by the thousands of options on their turn. But the very best family games can keep that simplicity whilst also adding a layer of depth, and that's what's missing for adults playing this game. And so we've got a feast of discovery married with a relative fast in interesting decisions. Now let me tell you about what I think is the biggest miss in this design. Difficulty. Setting the difficulty level is, in my view, the hardest thing about cooperative games from a design perspective. It seems to me that having an app that could take difficulty entirely out of the player's hands and offer you a bespoke difficulty experience as a group, that would be the perfect use of technology and would lift up the cooperative gaming experience in a way that wouldn't be possible without our Sammy's assistance. Surely for the sake of 10 seconds at the end, putting in your finishing health, that would be a price worth paying to set the difficulty level appropriately for the next mission. As it is, Boss Fighter sticks with the 4 predefined difficulty levels: beginners, advanced, professionals and insane, and obviously my children, being hungry for treasure as always, were only ever keen to try on the lowest difficulty level. Even without this self-correcting difficulty system, I'd love the option in the app to set the difficulty secretly in the options menu, rather than having it so publicly visible when the kids are setting up the game and I'm doing the washing up. The other thing I wanted to mention here is story. And when I talk about story in board gaming, I don't just mean the writing, although that obviously does play a part. What I mean is the story of playing the game. I've not played much of the Arkham Horror cooperative card game. I mostly play with my kids these days, but I came out of my first game of that with a real taste of what cooperative games can do in terms of story. I was tearing around the house trying desperately to deal with all manner of dark horrors that were appearing and threatening humanity, but my sister, who I was playing with, spent almost the entire game sitting on the landing, paralysed by fear. I just kept running past her on the landing, shouting, "Don't worry, I'll deal with all hell's monsters, you just sit there and deal with the demons of your past, that's fine." We did absolutely terribly in that game and it was hilarious. And we still talk about it now, years later. Now maybe it's unfair to expect a family weight game like Boss Fighters QR to write the same sort of stories, but the experience here is not one where you feel like you're a jungle troll or a copper dwarf. You'll be doing 3 melee damage rather than feeling like you're brandishing your rock cleaver. And when you're done, there won't really be a story to remember. You played your cards, you did your damage, you had fun, but nobody was on the landing hilariously incapacitated. Now, in terms of the whole thing of having a tablet at the table, of course it's wonderful to be able to have Sammy join in our game. He's such a blessing to us, and it's so good to have him as part of our family. But I do just need to pop to the toilet. Sammy, so I'll be back in a second. Right, so having the whole game focused on a screen does fundamentally change the experience. The box pictures the tablet in the middle of the table like a game board, but because there's so much text to read on the screen, we found we had to have it standing up on the table, and that does give it the feel of watching TV or being in a cinema where everyone's around looking at the screen. The app itself does generally work really well though, picking up the QR codes within a few seconds and applying their effects accurately. There is an option to help you scan cards if you need to, and the app just tells you all that you need to know, and also gives the option to reduce those reminders if you want to. The big obstacle for most of us, I think, with this game is whether we really want to invite a device into our family in the first place. So that's Boss Fighters QR, a hybrid board game / app that will keep your children busy for hours and hours, as long as you're willing to pay the cost of having a tablet at the table. You'll have a great time playing this with the kids in your life, but it will likely lack the depth or the story to have you coming back to play again once the kids are down. As a lovely touch, Pegasus have included in the game a guide to help you reset the game completely. This means that when your family is done with it, you can give it to some budding heroes down the road. We're going to be giving away our copy of this game in 2 weeks' time, so see the video description for how to enter that competition. But if you've enjoyed this video, please do check out our website, boardgamesforallages.com. Please also make sure you like and subscribe, do it now, so we can continue our good work of adopting devices into our family.